Hello, this is Mr. Lowe at Coral Canyon Elementary School, and today I wanted to show you a little bit about the grouping, being able to group on Smart Notebook, and some of the strategies and the ways that I use it in my classroom. So, first of all, here's an object that's been grouped. I just put some text in, and I put a shape around the outside, and then I group them together, and now it makes a little sign. So, for here, for example, I found this picture, and it had the words Happy Halloween. And I kind of liked it, and so I used my camera tool to take a picture of it. But I thought it needed a little bit more. And so the first thing I thought is, well, maybe I'll make that orange stand out a little bit more by putting kind of an orange border around it. And I liked that, but I thought, well, it's still not quite right. I want to add a little bit even more than that. So I decided that I would make a box, fill it in gray, put black, and then put all three of those together to make kind of like a picture frame. So the first thing I'll do is I'll put my orange inside, get it about where I want it, and then I'm going to put my Happy Halloween in the middle of that. Get that where I want it, and now I'm going to group all three of those together so that they'll become one item. After they're grouped together, they'll move together. If I shrink or make it larger, they'll do all those things together, and I won't have to keep moving them one by one. And so to do that, I'm going to get my lasso tool, and I'm going to lasso from the outside, and I'm going to lasso over all three pieces. And now I know all three have been highlighted because I can see 1, 2, 3 green dots. So that tells me there's 3 items that have been lassoed together. And I just come over to one of these drop-down menus, and it doesn't matter which one I click. I'm just going to click down on drop-down menu. I'm going to go down to grouping, and I'm going to say group those together. Now notice that I only have 1 green dot, and that's because all 3 of those have become one thing. So now when I move it around, it moves as if it's one item. I can shrink it, and it keeps all of its components together. I can move it around and do whatever I want with it. So that's one way that I use grouping quite a bit. Now if I want to ungroup those, I just come back up here to the top, I go to grouping again, and this time I say ungroup. I click outside and I make it go away, and now they are 3 separate pieces again. Now one common problem that people run into when they're grouping is they'll create these 3 different things, but then when they go to put this on top, it'll be underneath. It'll be behind it. So the way it works is whatever you make last is going to be on top. So if I make this first, and then I make this box, and then I bring this in, they'll be in the right order. If by chance I put them in the wrong order and this one ends up being on top, for example, I'll show you. I'll put order. I'm going to tell it to bring it to front. So right now it goes on top of everything, and that's not what I want. So the easiest way to fix that is just to click on it, get your marching ants, go to the drop-down menu. You're going to say order, and you're going to say send to back. Now it'll be behind all of them, and you just have to do that and put them in the order that you want. The next thing I like to do with grouping is, let's say I want to make a Venn diagram. Now I have these 2 circles, and if I put them together I can make a Venn diagram. But the problem is if I want to make this bigger to fill up the screen, I have to do each one individually. If I try to move it, then I have to move the one, and then I have to move the other. It would be so much easier if I could just make it one item. And I do that by grouping. So I'll put the circles where I want them, and I'll make it about there. And I'm going to click outside, and I'm going to lasso both of them. I'm going to come to the drop-down menu. I'm going to go to grouping, and I'm going to say group those together. Notice it becomes one set of marching ants, one little green circle. And now when I click on it, it moves together. If I want to make it so it fits my entire screen, I can make it as big or as small as I want. This next one's kind of fun. Let's say I'm teaching my class about synonyms and antonyms, and I want to have them think of some synonyms for the word buy. So the kids can list off words that they think are synonyms for buy, and then when I drag this over to the other side, ta-da, there is a synonym for buy. It's purchase. So how did I do that? Well, what I did is, first of all, I picked 2 words that are synonyms. So I have here I have sick, and I have the word ill. And I changed the font color of one to match this side, and I changed the other one's font color to match this side. And then I'm going to group those together. So I'm going to lasso or highlight. What I'm doing this time is I'm clicking on the first word, I'm pushing my control button, and I'm going to push the second one. Now I can go to my drop-down menu, and I'm going to say group. I'm going to group those two together. I get my marching ants. And now, notice when I come off this gray, the yellow disappears, and I can see the blue. Now if I go to the other side, the blue will disappear, and I can see the yellow. And so you can do that with multiple sets of words, and you can do a little game where the kids try to pick as many synonyms as they can. This will help them if they get stuck and they need an example. So just a simple way to use grouping to make an easy activity that the kids can interact with. This next one is, a lot of times I want to put instructions on a page, or for example here, I want to show what the objectives for the week are, but I don't want it taking up a full page on my screen. So what I've done is I've got a copy here of my objectives, and I made this little tab. And I want to put that together so it's kind of like a pull tab. So I'm going to bring this right underneath my objectives. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to push my control button, and I'm going to click on the top one. Or I can click outside here and I can lasso both of those. Same thing as before, I'm going to click on the drop-down menu. I'm going to go to grouping, and I'm going to say group. Now it's become one object. What's neat about this is I can take it and I can stick it up at the top of my page. It's out of the way. I can use the page for whatever I want. If I want to check my objectives to see if I'm doing what I need to do, I just drag it down. Yep, doing what I need to do. Also, you can do that with instructions. Right over here is another pull tab. If I drag that pull tab out, I can see the instructions for the activity that we're going to do. I can make sure I've got it in my head. Yep, and then I go stick it back in the corner. Or if you want to create activities for the kids to do on their own during a center or a time when they work independently, you can just stick the instructions to the side. Then they don't have to switch through multiple slides. You can have as many tabs as you want. And I did the same thing with this one. I just created the text. I put a box around it, grouped those together. I put the pull tab on the end, and then I grouped those two together. And now I have a little pull tab. So finally, here's a page that's complete. You can see there's multiple ways in here that I've used the grouping. I created this as a little logo to put on some of my slides so that it's shown as something I've created. I put a border around here and I grouped that. I've got my objectives, which I can just hide down below. I've got some buttons and things, and everything in here I've been able to group. These ones I just took a button, I wrote text on top of it and grouped it together, made it into a button. Same with these. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wasn't there. You just put those on top, group them together, and now you have a button that when you click can go to another slide in your presentation. Well, I hope that gives you some ideas on how to use grouping and also some of the strategies that I use for grouping.